I have one thing up in the air, that's what I'm trying to pin down, okay?
I got two things in the air, that's what happens here.
It's my second time in a week. No.
Maybe orange.
Hey, I can dress up.
Yeah.
You wanna sit in here?
Actually, you know what's?
He doesn't like me. Yo no lo hago hecho.
They put all the good stuff on the line. We know how to market.
Thanks for the help with the
Tienen 53 por...
Está muy bonito.
Ay, 53 de frente.
What we might want to bring in food on it or something from downside. They're setting up anything. Take one together.
Tú sabes que hasta me llamó un amigo mío de que es boliviano, que me tenía al tanto de todo lo que pasaba. Y México, el gobernador, le dio la ciudadanía mexicana a Evo Morales y lo puso en el gabinete.
Bueno, eso no sé. A lo mejor la última noticia que hay.
Eso me lo contó el boliviano, amigo mío.
Si le dio,
Me llamó estando yo aquí.
si le hizo ciudadano mexicano y eso.
Yeah, I know. It's not.
No, pero a mí me informó. Eso me lo dijo porque me llamó, yo voy con Gonzalo, que cuando llegue a la casa te llamo. O te mando un tesis por si estás durmiendo, que me contó.
Oye,
Two new guys started though. They look competent. The two new guys, Omar, the maintenance guy.
Oh, time will tell.
Well, I mean,
Time will, they all great. They all look great in the beginning.
everyone's got their the honeymoon. Same as the clients.
Exactly. I
Same as
know.
the clients.
Well, you see them more than I do, so let me know if you see anything that doesn't go right. Just
la
let me
otra
know.
del casa del primo de Ram,
¿De qué primo?
la casa de 2 pisos esa de la esquina. Ahí vivía uno de los de Ram, vive. No, yo creo que él la vivió.
Oye, y esa gente que se han hecho, y la señora que la señora que no era cáncer.
Claro, yo tenía entendido que era una leucemia, pero no le cobraron eso.
Ay, qué bueno.
Igual que Homero, amigo mío de Guatemala.
Ay, eso no me lo había dicho.
Y le hizo
¿Ready? No, eso no me lo había dicho. Lo de la señora la última vez que eso es cuando ella se lo habían descubierto. Pero como yo nunca lo he visto, no.
Are we ready?
Yeah.
Good? We're ready? Welcome, everyone, to the City of West Miami Commission meeting. Today is Wednesday, November 20th at 7:30 p.m. I know the clerk has made mention. I just want to be sure everyone knows, if you wish to speak on any agenda item this evening, you need to fill out a speaker's card, which I believe is available there, and present that to the city clerk, please. And thank you. Okay, Mr. Penna, for the invocation, please rise.
Bow your heads, please. Heavenly Father, in our hearts we plan our course, but we pray that you establish our steps. I pray that we seek you for advice. Let us not make decisions based upon what we know, but let us act as based upon your wisdom. Please guide us, Lord. We place this meeting in your hands. We place our hearts and our minds in your hands so that you may direct us. Amen. Happy Thanksgiving to all.
Thank you, Mr. Penna. Commissioner Blanes, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, sir?
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk?
Item 3, roll call. Mayor Rhonda Rodriguez,
Present.
Vice Mayor Luciano Suarez.
Yes.
Commissioner Candida Blanca.
Yes.
Commissioner Juan Blanes.
Present.
Commissioner Diaz-Padrón is excused this evening. Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next item.
Item 4, presentation of minutes for approval for November 6, 2019, regular commission meeting.
Motion?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Next item.
Item 5, public comments.
Anyone wish to speak on anything except the public hearing? Any other item? No?
No,
Next
Madam
item.
Mayor. Item 6, report of the city manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In lieu of the fact that you have a public hearing this evening advertised for 7:30, I think it's best that we defer our report, the report from my office until later on in the agenda.
Very well.
Unless you,
No,
unless you
very
wanna hear
well.
it.
In that case, let's defer 6, 7, and 8, report of the city manager, report of the city attorney, report of the city engineer, and 9, committee reports, and report of the mayor. Let's leave all those until after the public hearing. Madam Clerk, are you in agreement with that?
Yes, Madam Mayor, and I would like to request withdrawal of item 11E. Is there a report by city engineers on citywide traffic study?
Withdrawn?
May I ask the clerk mayor to include this for a presentation at the January 15th, 2020 meeting, 2020 meeting?
Very well,
Duly
Madam
noted.
Clerk, as instructed. Yes?
How would you like me to, yes, so duly noted. What item would you like to hear? The public
Let's-
hearing, 11?
Let's go right into,
10A?
yes, okay, we can read A. Let's go through, let's read A.
Okay, item 10, unfinished business. Item 10A, nomination of 2 alternate members to the Code Enforcement Board and members of the Recreation Advisory Board.
Does anyone have anything on item A?
I don't have anyone at this moment.
Madam Clerk, I am working on that, so I will have some nominations for you by the next meeting.
We'll keep it on the agenda.
Working
Mr.
on it
Blanes?
also.
Okay, well, perfect.
Good.
So by
Thank
the
you.
next meeting, thank you.
Yes.
So carry it over.
Okay.
For the next
on
one.
Item 11, under new business agenda items, item 11A, this is a public hearing. Property address 6400 Southwest 8th Street, West Miami, Florida 32144. Special use permit 2019-002. Applicant Gilberto and Teresa Uribe, Banyan Community Health Center, Inc., 3910 West Flagler, Miami, Florida 32144. Applicant requests a special use permit for the property at 6400 Southwest 8th Street, West Miami, Florida 32144. The property at 6400 Southwest 8th Street totals 149.11 feet wide by 266.3 feet long, and the existing building has 7,000 square feet. The applicant is requesting a special use permit to operate a community medical center, health center. The applicant will renovate the existing building to accommodate medical offices, examination rooms, dental office, treatment rooms, and an ethical pharmacy on premises. The total acreage for the C parcel is 0.4445 acres, and the total acreage is on the R5 off-street parking for commercial parcel is 0.6255 for a combined total of 10.701 acres. zoning ordinance 282, section 28431.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Madam Mayor, may I be heard?
Yes.
This is a matter that came up from the zoning, planning and zoning board. It's a quasi judicial matter, so anyone except lawyers that will testify, would you raise your right hand and repeat after me? Anybody that's going to, I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. In addition, Madam Mayor, this is a procedure pursuant to Section 3.06 of the city charter, that any item that comes out from the Planning and Zoning Board, any matter placed, an affirmative vote of 4/5 votes shall require in order to reverse an issue of the Planning and Zoning Board, will have to be 4/5 of the votes of the commission.
Okay, so, Mr. Attorney, I want to hear this in plain English. There are 4 of us present, not 5. What is the exact number that would be needed?
4 is sufficient because it says 4/5 of the council. In other words, it doesn't say of those present, it's the council.
Of the council, so it would be 4 votes this evening.
In order to reverse the recommendation of the zoning and the planning and zoning board.
Thank you, sir. Okay, since this is, item A is a public hearing as read by the city clerk, this is how we will proceed with the public hearing. First, we will hear from staff, then we will hear from the applicant, then I will open the public hearing to the public, I will close the public hearing, and then I will hear from my table. Okay? Mr. Penna?
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, Vice Mayor. On October 22nd, 2019, the Planning and Zoning Board had a public hearing on the same item for the property at 6400 Southwest 8th Street as a primary health care facility by Banyan Health Systems. The board held the hearing that night. There were residents present that spoke in opposition to the health center. And after this presentation by the in-house counsel for Banyan Health, the Planning and Zoning Board voted 3-0 to deny the application. They stated that it was incompatible with the character of the city and other concerns that they had regarding public safety and police dispatch to their present facilities, and also lack of security inside the establishment. They also had questions, the zoning board had questions as to why the partitions for the psychiatric rooms were of a stronger partition than normally required for an office, and they weren't satisfied with the responses they were given.
Thank you, Mr. Penna.
I have a question. Can you repeat the part again about the partitions? What are you alluding to?
The plans that were shown to the zoning board and the plans you have tonight indicate that the area of the 5 mental health rooms, treatment rooms, and also adjacent to the psychiatrist's office, those partitions are of a heavier duty than the normal of the rest of the building.
What do you mean heavier duty?
Higher impact drywall.
Why is that?
I don't know what occurs in a mental facility, so I couldn't tell you. I'd imagine somebody out of control, I guess. I don't know. Hitting the walls, screaming. I don't know.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you, Mr. Penna. Anyone else from staff that wishes to present?
Madam
Madam
Mayor?
Manager?
Yes, I think we need to hear, the chief of police has been asked to render a report of his findings And I think that it would be beneficial for everyone to hear what he has to say.
Thank
Good
you.
evening, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Commissioners. I was instructed to do some research on Banyan Healthcare, other facilities that they have in Miami-Dade County, as well as render an opinion from the police department on a recommendation or non-recommendation of this approval. I contacted Miami-Dade County Police Department in the city of Miami, which is where there are other Banyan facilities currently in operation, and discovered that there were dozens and dozens of reports to calls for police service to those facilities. We in the police department are strapped for manpower, as are many police departments in our community in Miami-Dade County, and to task our officers with additional calls, and especially with the potential for violence in the type of calls because of the clientele that apparently is going to be being treated at this facility. My recommendation and that of my staff is that this be denied and that facility not be allowed there to maintain the quality of life, the response time that our citizens and our corporate citizens are accustomed to, as well as the safety and well-being of the citizens and my officers as well.
Thank you, Chief. Madam Clerk, do we have that written report by the chief in our package?
Yes, you do. It's
Thank
part
you.
of your application, and I didn't mean to take away the response from the city clerk. But I think, Madam Mayor, you may want to hear some statistical numbers just to get an idea of what is the impact to our existing force and our small municipalities' police department. So I know that the chief spoke about dozens of calls for incidents. And I would like for him to give us to give you some numbers and the audience, of course, of his findings and how, so that it gives you an idea of how it could potentially impact our police department and the quality of service that we provide to the community.
That's why I was asking if we had a copy of that report.
You do.
To see those statistics. Thank you, Chief.
The total number of reports to the building where the facilities are currently housed in Miami and in Miami-Dade County totaled 289 calls from January 1st until I received the report, which was at the end of October, beginning of November. So 10 months for all intents and purposes. Dividing that with the 6 existing facilities, that would be 48 additional calls per facility per year. Those could be 2 a day, those could be 1 every other day. We don't know how those numbers will come in, but undoubtedly there will be additional calls for service to this facility, even if these 289 calls are not specifically because of patient issues or anything like that. The police officers will be taken off their routine patrol or any other calls to go over there and handle it. At times we have 2 officers, 3 officers on the road at a time, and if there is another emergency situation, if there's a severe crash or vehicle accident, we may not have an officer available to respond immediately, and who knows what could take place there. So, I mean, it's the potential is there for catastrophe in the making.
Thank you, Chief. Yes, ma'am.
If I may, from a financial perspective, if I may ask the chief, of course, Mayor, if you allow me to ask the chief, if this application were to be approved, is it your professional opinion that the city should augment our police force?
If it's approved, yes, there would be no doubt that we would have to add additional officers to cover the potential for additional calls at Banyan here in the city, without a doubt.
Thank you. Well, you know that has a cost in the budget, and so those are considerations that need to be made along the way. Just want to put that in the record.
Chief?
I have been asked also by the city manager to advise you that pursuant to the memorandum that was sent out to the Planning and Zoning Board, the medical facilities, medical offices or facilities are not allowed use pursuant to Ordinance 282. And also the report of the minutes reflect that Mr. Paz, which is the chair, stated that he did not think that primary care facility as described was compatible with the neighborhood and the families living in the immediate area, that the presentation was not convinced of that this type of facility would be compatible with the neighborhood or the area, and a motion to recommend denial to the application was made and passed.
Thank you, sir.
Chief?
Yes, sir.
You say that we would have to augment our police department. So can you make a clarification of how many officers you think that
Again,
would entail?
if this was there, our minimum staffing would have to go up to at least 4 officers on each shift while the business is open. Again, leaving 2, whenever you get a disturbance call, which is what I think is mostly what we would get there, you have to send a minimum of 2 officers. You cannot send 1 officer there. It's standard in the industry to send 2 for officer safety reasons. And my experience, I mean, this is my 40th year in law enforcement, and these people that, and I'm not saying that all of their clients are like this, obviously, but people that use narcotics develop, you as a fireman have seen it in an extraordinary strength that sometimes 3, 4, and 5 officers it takes it to deal with these people and bring them under control. So at least 4 officers per shift. So that would be an addition of 4 or more officers to the department.
Okay, thank you.
There are a total of 9 medical examination room and 5 dental services chairs and 5 mental health examination rooms. So there's the number of examination room for mental psychiatrist room and there's one also for 1 psychiatrist.
And I didn't know what I heard just this evening here is that the walls are going to be reinforced. That strengthens the requirement for officers. I mean, apparently they are anticipating the potential for some violence with some of their patients.
I actually need some clarification with that. I don't know if maybe when they make their presentation, they would expand on that, because I really do want some clarification on that. Thank you,
Yes,
Chief.
sir. All right.
I have a question for
Yes.
the city
Go ahead.
manager.
Sir,
Madam Manager, if we were to hire 4 new officers,
yes, sir.
what would that cost?
To put an officer on the road with the vehicle, equipment, and salary plus benefits, you're talking about $100,000 ballpark figure per officer. So 4 new police officers would cost the city approximately $400,000
A year.
a year. And that amount increases because of contractual obligations, and it's the cost of doing business. And you have to factor in not only the salary of the officer, but if the officer has to go to court, and I don't know if the chief would agree with me, but knowing the profession the way I do, I know that when arrests are made or detentions are made, obviously those officers or first responders have to go to court or to hearings regarding those apprehensions, those detentions, those arrests. So that includes, that also augments or increases the amounts because you have to pay the officers overtime at time and a half.
Thank you, Madam Manager.
Yes, ma'am.
Do we have anyone else from staff that wishes to present to us? No? Okay. At this time, I am going to open the public hearing. Madam Clerk?
Madam Mayor, no one has registered with me to speak on this item. Would you like to
Oh,
speak on
please
this
bring
item?
forward your speaker cards if you have any.
Please turn in the
Thank you.
speaker's card to me, please.
Mayor?
Yes?
I think the applicant should be the first one to
Oh,
do his presentation and then the public
thank you for
hearing.
turning in the cards.
Thank you.
You have to,
Mr.
Madam Mayor,
Attorney.
you have to open up for the proponent to address.
Yes, and so at this
before
time,
the-
I inadvertently opened the
Okay.
public hearing. Do I have to close it and then open it again later to allow the applicant to speak prior to my
You have to let the applicant speak
Yes,
first.
and I knew that, but I opened the public hearing. So I'm asking, do I close it, then
applicant-
ask the applicants to come
The
forward?
applicant should have an opportunity to present their case before you open the public hearing.
I understand, but I've
Okay?
already opened it, so I'm going to close it, and then I'll open it when the applicant is
Okay.
that correct, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing at this time. It was my error. I knew the applicant had to come forward, and I kind of like jumped the gun. So at this time, if I could have the applicant come forward and present, and I am sorry, counsel, I said at the beginning what I was going to do, and then I didn't do it. My apologies.
That's quite all right, thank you. Good evening. My name is Rick Morgan. I am the General Counsel and Chief Risk Officer of Bang & Health Systems. Before I get too far afield, Mr. Blames, I'm compelled to answer the question that others couldn't, but cast some aspersions. There are walls that are really thick because they surrounded a vault that was in a bank. We didn't put them there. We don't need them for people banging on the walls. They are part of the building. They surrounded the former tenant's vault that was FDIC insured, and no doubt we're required to have such walls. There is no plans by Bang to reinforce the walls in that facility because clearly with no intent, no malice intended. There is a very unfortunate misrepresentation as to the intent of what Bang & Health Services plans to do at 6400 8th Street. And while there is a history of Bang being a good citizen and neighbor throughout Broward and Dade County for not 10 years, 5 decades, folks, members of the commission, for 5 decades, this entity has served. But the purpose of the 8th Street facility within West Miami is not its traditional business. It is a primary health facility. And let me, with the help of my glasses, advise you as to what that mission is. That is physical exams, preventative care, pain management, chronic illness management, pediatrics, well and sick child checkups, immunization, sports and school physicals, child behavioral health, women's health services, well women's exams, family planning, prenatal care, medical assisted treatment, pharmacy. And when I say the pharmacy, it's not the traditional Walgreens or CVS. This is an internal pharmacy that we will only deal with our patients, and it's done for expedience and as a service. The import of the primary health care facility that is planned emanates from a federal program under the first Bush administration, which is what is referred to a federally qualified health center, that delineates very clear and unambiguous, unambiguous qualifications as to what you can do. And the mission there is to provide comprehensive health care with compassion for the entire community. And you do that pursuant to these federal standards. You can't deviate from those standards. You can't open and then all of a sudden say, well, we're going to change what we want to do. You can't do that. We're governed by the FQ8C standards. And that is what the intent is. The intent, you know, at the prior meeting, notwithstanding the efforts to say 17 times it's a primary health center, the focus was on the history of what Bang had done. And Bang's not going to shy away from an enormous benefit it's done for mental health and a drug addiction. But the questions were, are you going to bust people in? Are people coming from court orders? The answer is no, and no, and no. This is a primary health facility for the local community, just what the FQ8C requires. Bang is not going to bust anyone in. This is not a case of if Judge X orders somebody to go to drug treatment or mental health care, they're not going to go to that facility. That is not going to happen. So now when Bang was looking at facilities to open an FQ8C, it was looking at a number of potential opportunities and saw the building, pardon me, at 8th Street. And we did our homework, as you would expect. And I've heard on a number of occasions that there's no code provision, there's no use provision in the city of West Miami for a primary care facility. And I was struck by, I took it upon myself to read Ordinance 282, dated February 1st, 1967, as amended from time to time. And at section 4.3, it references C uses. And in that section, it delineates 73 uses that don't require a special use permit. And number 48 says medical and dental office. So I looked to see if there were any restraints, if there were any conditions, and perhaps more enlightening, were there any regulations or rules, things that fundamental due process that would say, you know, fair play, substantive justice would say, if you're going to invest money and go about your business, here are the rules of the game. Here's what you need to do. There aren't any. It says a medical and dental office. Well, we plan to have both. And as part of the FQHC, ladies and gentlemen of the commission, we think it's incumbent upon healthcare services to provide integrated medical services today. The days of going to the cardiologist and then going to see a mental health provider, then going to see a physical therapist, they're waning. Whether it's insurance companies, whether it's doctor groups, we want to take care of the person, preferably at one time at one location. That's the concept of the FQHC. And, you know, I can only allay the concerns of the community. If I were in a community and somebody was suggesting that there were going to be troubled souls walking the street at midnight looking for drugs or mentally ill, I would be concerned. I agree. That's not what's happening here. And there were concerns. So it's a little troubling when I hear, God bless him, the chief of police for 40 years, his premises are based upon information that's simply not correct. We have no intentions of increasing the cost of doing business. What we come to this city with is looking to employ between 18 and 35 people over time with salaries of $50,000 to $200,000. Some will live in your community, but all will shop in your community. We will enhance that business. We will make that property look better. We have sufficient parking and then some. But every component part of the analysis has been considered and looked at and will be treated appropriately. So one could logically say, well, we approve you, and then you change. Well, every city I know of has compliance. You know, we have to live with what we tell you we're going to do like everyone else. And if we deviate, there are consequences. And I don't even like to speak in those terms, but given sort of the adamant suggestions and the focus on mental health and drug addiction, which this company has done successfully for 50 years, I'm compelled to repeat those services will not be performed at the 8th Street property. Now, if somebody comes in, pardon me, with a mental health issue, co-occurring, the term of art, you have a physical issue, some malady, but you also are suffering from depression, we'll see you for both. We're not going to treat the depression at that location. We have other facilities. But we don't think it's appropriate for that person to go home, wait 5 weeks to have an appointment to see some doctor somewhere else. We'll speak to them, we'll deal with them, and they will be treated at one of our other facilities if they so choose, or they'll go somewhere else. But that is the mission of Banyan. That is the hope of bringing to this city a wonderful primary care facility. Now, in my research, I noticed that no less than 34 entities within West Miami property, some with signs referencing psychiatry, all had C use. They're permits or CUs. And I've had some pictures, Madam Chair, if I could submit this into the record as Exhibit A, I'd very much appreciate it. It is a composite list of 34 entities, as well as some of the pictures of those facilities and their addresses.
Yes, you may, but before that, I need a little bit of clarification on what
Sure.
you just said. You're saying you found 34 entities
So let me-
within the city of West Miami
So
that deal with psychiatry?
No.
No,
There
so
are
please
34,
elaborate.
34 medical facilities within the city of West Miami that have the C use, and at least 2 or 3 of those also provide psychiatric services. And in fact, I have one with the picture of the front door where it has psychiatric in the window.
If I may, Madam Manager, Mr. Penna,
Mr.
I
Penna?
don't think we even have 34 medical offices within our city.
Well, there's.
I'm
there-
sorry? Okay, very well. Council, you may present whatever it is you have to us.
And Madam Chair, I would just note that one building alone at 1350 Southwest 57th Avenue has about 15 medical offices within that building itself. But if shall I hand it to the clerk, or what is the
Yes,
process of
please.
proffering?
And do you have a copy for each of us, or just one for the clerk?
No, I think if I may approach the chair.
Of course, yes. That's fine. Be sure the clerk gets one. And Mr. Penna, I'd like you to see this also. Let's pass this
I have a
on.
question.
Yes.
Can you clarify again the issue about the reinforcement of the walls? You mentioned something about the bank and
Yeah.
bolts, but what does that have to do with your project?
It has nothing to do with our project. So let me try
So-
to be clear as I
Okay,
can.
please.
There was, I don't believe, an unintentional misrepresentation that somehow in our use of that facility, that we either are intending, well, we have either a need for, placed in, or find some need for these enhanced walls. And the answer is no, no, no. What they are enhanced walls that existed in connection with the prior tenant, which was a bank. The walls surrounded the vault. We don't need them. Frankly, they cost too much to remove. They're not doing anybody any harm. If they're better walls, we'll keep them. It wouldn't be our intention to build them with those walls, but if they're there, we're not going to use our money to tear them down to put in less solidified walls. They're there, we'll use them, but we're not going to be servicing clientele that go through what people perceive to be these emotional, traumatic moments where people are going through withdrawals from drug addiction or severe mental anguish. Those are not the services for this facility that are intended at any point in time. Yes, at other facilities we do it, and we'll continue to do it. Not here. So let me be clear. Those walls pre-existed. They were built by others for the specification for the prior tenant.
Mr. Penna, is that correct?
There used to be a bank vault, yes.
So the walls, so these reinforced walls have nothing to do with this project?
I would have to plan again.
Here.
Yeah, can you please clarify?
And Madam Clerk, if you would, I'd like to see that,
Counselor,
what the council presented to
Counselor, I have a
us.
question for you.
Yes.
You mentioned that at times the clinic would be presented with a psychiatric patient or a patient needing mental health assistance, and that he would not be turn down since he's already there, right? That's what you alluded to, more
Well,
or less.
I'm be clear, I don't think I used the term psychiatric. I said folks that might have depression or what
Well,
have you.
Well, but, and my other part of the question is, so then why do you have 5 mental health examination rooms and 1 psychiatric room?
Okay, as I mentioned, one,
Just in case someone drops in.
Mr. Blaines,
That doesn't make any sense.
Mr. Blaines, as I
So if you can
mentioned,
please clarify that for me, please.
I'm going to do my best.
Thank you.
Mr. Blaines, when I listed the items of services that the primary care facility would have, among those was pediatric mental health. Excuse me. There were privacy considerations relating to that. So those were the allocations of offices that we, and those who are in better position than I, to outline how we were going to use the 20 or so offices. And that's the way it was laid out. But when people come in with physical issues in an aging population, depression is not uncommon. A doctor who's dealing with a medical issue, meaning physiological, will hand, or lack of a better phrase, refer to someone else in the facility who's going to be dealing with an issue of depression, what have you. But let me be clear. It is not the intent of Bangin to have people to come to that facility in the first instance because they need psychiatric care. That's not what the facility is for. It is an ancillary service, supplemental service that goes hand in hand with what I believe every hospital and every medical facility comes across every day of its life. That people come in, they have physical problems, and they have these ancillary or supplemental, lack of a better word, or other issues dealing with mental health.
So let me mirror this back at you.
Sure.
So you're saying that these mental health examination rooms are basically pediatric?
They will be.
Or, are they?
Yes.
Pediatric?
Yes.
And the psychiatric room, also pediatric?
I don't think it's limited to psychiatric. I think it's going to be used by whomever.
So the mental health examination rooms, are they strictly pediatric?
The intent is I don't know if it's going to be solely, because if somebody comes in, we need a room, but the intent is to handle pediatric mental health issues.
Okay. So then these rooms are also for adults?
They may be used for adults as well.
All right, okay. And so is the psychiatric room. So you have 5 mental health examination rooms and 1 psychiatric rooms, just in case someone presents with possible depression, they can be treated in these rooms, right?
And
If they come in with a physical issue, a medical issue, and they pose that they're depressed, and then they're ferried away to these rooms. Is that the way it's supposed to work?
in large measure, yes. But those rooms may also be used if they're not being used. I mean, we're not going to have them as museum pieces, if you will. If the medical needs are there, they will be reallocated as, you know, as appropriate for examination rooms for physical. But that was the initial allocation.
They are designated mental health examination rooms. And I just don't understand why you need 5 of them just in case someone comes in with a medical problem and says, oh, I'm depressed. And all of a sudden they're detoured from the medical side to the mental health side.
Mr. Blaines, I think that is a reasonable question, and I can certainly provide more information on that. But I think that at the time that it was being prepared, that the best thought process is that was a reasonable allocation.
But this is what you guys are asking.
I'm not disputing that.
This is what you guys are asking us.
Well,
So I need to make sure that I understand everything. As you know, because you guys want 5 mental health examination rooms and 1 psychiatric room.
Okay. And I would ask if you would allow me to provide the additional information as to more substantive response that may allay your concern.
Absolutely.
Here's what I'd like to do, Counselor. Finish your presentation, of course, whatever else you have to present to us. Then I would like to open the public hearing to hear from the public. Then once I close it, I would allow you to come back up to answer our questions at that time. Is that
Fair enough.
work with you? I finished your presentation now,
Yes.
whatever else you have to tell us.
I think,
And then I'll invite him
Madam
back
Mayor,
up
if I may,
after for questions.
I
Yes.
think that you should allow him to complete his
Yes,
presentation.
that's what I just said. I'm asking him to please to complete his presentation.
Okay.
Then I
And
will,
he has an opportunity to rebut anything that is said. okay?
right, so after the public hearing, I will invite him back up, obviously, because that's the time we will be discussing it at the table to answer any of our questions. But yes, at this time, please finish your presentation.
Madam Chair, I think I believe you have the gist of what our intention is. And we've made a good faith effort to advise you. In summary, it's primary care facility within the framework of existing code, the 282 ordinance of the city of West Miami. And there is no known restriction in writing, provision, amendment, revision that puts a restriction upon what we intend to do. Madam Chair, if I may ask, Dr. Rubinson is here. He's the chairman of the board. He would like to briefly present some comments. And if I may request that he be allowed to do so at this time.
Is he part of your presentation, or will he want to speak during the public hearing?
My understanding is it's part of the presentation.
Mr. Attorney?
I think that he should finish his presentation.
He
Then
is.
you can
He's
open
asked-
it for public hearing.
And at that time, the
he has an
doctor will be
opportunity to
invited up.
rebut anything.
No,
He
the
would like to
doctor that he
bring-
would like to present now.
Right.
May he present the doctor as part of his presentation?
Sure.
Or should the doctor, okay, very well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney.
Thank you.
Mr. Morgan, let's hold our questions until after. Well, yes, thank you, Mr. Morgan.
Name and address for the record.
Good evening. Excuse me. My name is Richard Rubinson. I'm the chairperson of the Board of Banyan Health. I'm a retired physician. I was a surgeon who practiced in the South Miami Baptist area for about 40 years. I should tell you that you have to have a clear picture of what an FQHC is, a federally qualified health center. It's a primary care center. Let me give you an example which may be relevant to West Miami. Here you have this little city with about 8,000 people now, even though the last census was a little less. It's about 8,000, with a nice array of doctors, a little light on pediatrics, a little light on psychiatry perhaps, no OBGYN. But the doctors who are in the area are doing very nicely and serve the area fairly well. But here's what happens in general to people like those who populate South Miami. This is a hard-working city. Your people are basically blue-collar people. They're working long hours, 6 days a week perhaps have 2 jobs. When they need medical care, they have to get it at night or on the weekend or on Sundays, when most of the doctor facilities are closed. So what these people do? They go to the emergency room, and they're either treated there and have to be referred for follow-up service, or they're admitted to the hospital and then are discharged and have to have follow-up. There's where the problem lies. The physicians in this area, in many areas in this county and statewide, are really full and can take no more patients. And so these people, your people, who need follow-up care, need the primary care for the illnesses that they have, they don't have a lot of choices of places to go. Doctors are, in practice, are not too interested in taking patients on Medicaid because the reimbursements are so low. You just can't make out with a whole practice of Medicaid patients. And surely, if you have no insurance, forget about it. No doctor wants to take you. So having an open medical care facility that is available to people who are underinsured or uninsured is very important. And I think it's a good thing for West Miami to have a facility like that to supplement the medical care that's already available. You know, the whole problem, just want to take 1 second. You know, we hear all the politicians talking about Medicare for all and Obamacare, blah, blah, blah. The real problem that nobody is talking about is access to care. That is why the cost of medical care in this country is so large. Here, arguably, we have the best medical schools, we have the best doctors, we have the best hospitals, we have the best medical research, but we have lousy results in our medical care, 28th in infant mortality, age, other indicators going down. And the reason has to do with access. So if you, in your wisdom, can look upon this primary care facility as another access point, in my opinion, you will be doing your population a great deal of good. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rubinson. Mr. Morgan, is there anyone else as part of your group, part of your presentation? That's all. Thank you.
Mr. Blanes, on your question regarding the partitions, the statement by Mr. Morgan, there were 2 vaults in the existing bank. One is going to be used as a provider workroom, which requires no alteration except the installation of a door. And the other one is being used as a storage off one of the mental health offices. The other partitions that you see, like I indicated, that are hashtag reinforced, they are fire-rated reinforced partitions, and they're brand-new partitions to create the three mental offices and the psychiatric office. And as far as the list that Mr. Morgan submitted, yes, those are businesses here in the city of West Miami of individual doctors that have their offices here in West Miami for different services.
Thank you, Mr. Penn. I want to present this to the rest of the table since we only have 1 copy. If you can look at that, Commissioner, pass that. This is what council presented. All right, so at this time, I'm going to open the public hearing once again. Public hearing is...
Will we be able to ask more questions?
Yes, after I close the public hearing, I will invite Mr. Morgan back up to answer all of our questions. Okay, Madam Clerk, if you will call those that wish to speak, please.
Yes, Carlos Abreu.
Good evening, everyone, members of the board. My name is Carlos Abreu. I'm a business owner on the block where they want to do and I had a lot of concern before coming to this meeting, and now I'm scared what I'm hearing here. Basically, every time I hear the mental facility, 5 rooms, all psychiatrists, I mean, I'm kind of scared, even for my tenants, that they're going to be moving. Are we going to be safe? Those people coming to get treatment, they're going to be coming on the car, they're going to be dropping on the bus, they're going to be coming on walking, bicycles. We have, our city is small, but it's very nice and safe. And I love this city. I've been since 1996. And basically, I'm overwhelmed about the city, and I love it. So have a type of business like this one is not going to be no good for citizens and our business. I don't see nothing positive about this facility. The mental health, it really scares me. I have children, grandchildren, and I'm kind of scared. It's making me think what I'm going to do in the future. Stay, leave, I don't know. There's going to be a lot of wondering people what they want to do, or we have cars that can be breaking in. I don't know. To me, it sounds kind of scary. So that's all I got to say.
Thank you, Mr. Abreu. Madam Clerk, next speaker.
Diana Rio.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Diana Rio. I have to disclose, I am a member of the Planning and Zoning Board. I was one of the 3 votes that denied the recommendation for this
I'm
project.
sorry,
And I am also,
let me interrupt you there. I think that you should not speak. You were a member of the Planning and Zoning Board that made the recommendation.
yes,
So-
but I am also a resident within the
understand it,
500-foot
but,
radius.
I think that it would be prudent for the chair not to allow this particular citizen to speak because she sat in the same body that you're judging in favor or against right now. So that's my recommendation.
Ms. Rios, I will always take the advice of my city attorney, so I apologize. Upon his advice and recommendation, I'm going to ask that you not speak.
Okay.
My apologies. Again, I will always follow my attorney's guidance.
Okay.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Now, Mr. Attorney, she was here as a resident, correct? I mean, she was coming to the
I
podium. I
understand
want to
it,
just
but I'm talking about
clarify.
being prudent.
Okay.
If she is, I have never seen a judge in the circuit court to be as a witness in the appellate court.
Understood. I just
And
want to be
this
sure
is-
that,
This goes the same thing.
Perfect.
I apologize because I respect her very much, but the thing is that it's only prudent not to have the same person that made the recommendation. The recommendation is before you, and it's, you can read it. But as I say, I think that it would be prudent not to have her as a witness.
and as stated, I will always follow your advice. Thank you, sir. Okay, next speaker.
Yes, for the record, we have Richard Robinson and Richard Morgan. They are applicants. I have the, yeah.
Okay.
Understand. Next person, Natalie Milian.
Hi, good evening, Madam Mayor and Commissioners. Thank you for your great service to our city. My name's Natalie Milian, and I reside at 6170 Southwest 19th Street. I'm here today in opposition of items 11A and B. I urge you all to consider and give way to the determination of your Planning and Zoning Board, who were unanimous in their opposition of this application. Approving this application would bring undue hardship to our city. It will generate excessive traffic and jeopardize the safety of our residents, in my opinion. Simply put, the application will not benefit the health, safety, and welfare of our city. The property has many available uses that exist already, which would benefit the community, and in this case, you would be making a special exception for a use that is not needed, and nor will it positively impact the residents of our community. On the contrary, the clinic will be operating from this location may lead to a whole host of other issues. I'm not certain why the representatives from the Banyan state that we do not have primary care, pediatric care, because we have Nicholas Children's Hospital within 5 minutes of all the residents of our city, and they are known for the finest pediatric primary care besides being a hospital facility. So I'm not sure why they keep saying that. Council also mentioned that there will be no mental or drug abuse services, and I would ask if they're willing to add language prohibiting those uses into their application. While I'm sure that they do good work, I'm opposed to this sort of center being placed in such close proximity to our residents. My husband and I bought our first home in this city because we wanted a safe and quiet place to raise a family. And I know that we all share the same desire to make sure that West Miami remains a safe haven for everyone. So that's why I'm here to ask that you consider the impact this type of center will have on our quality of lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Milian.
No more speakers card,
No
Madam
more?
Mayor.
Anyone else who might want to speak but didn't fill out the card? No? Okay, last chance. I will close the public hearing. Public hearing is now closed, so I am bringing it to the table for discussion, concerns. We can invite council back up to answer any of our questions.
Thank
Go
you,
right ahead.
Madam Mayor. After reading and listening to the report by our chief of police, which may compromise the safety and well-being of the residents and the repercussions that this application will have in our police department also, I cannot support this application under any circumstance. I make a motion to deny this application.
It's premature. I'm sorry.
Well, it's already been said.
I'm sorry, but I think that he has an absolute right to rebut and to make another presentation, and then you can choose to
I can read it again.
make whatever motion you have, but he does have the right to make a rebuttal presentation. And of course, the commission has the right also to hear additional testimony from the staff.
Sorry.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Applicant?
Yes, Madam Chair, I'm a little concerned that the due process rights are being abrogated by preconceived decision-making. It
Well,
is
Mr.
disconcerting.
I have to, excuse me,
fact-finding.
we're talking about legal terms, so no, sir, we're not abrogating the due process because you have been afforded the opportunity, and I stopped the commissioner from making any further comments. Yes, we're respecting your due process 100%.
I still have a lot of questions. So
Commissioner Bonas?
But he does have the right to rebut, so
Yes.
allow
Okay.
him the opportunity to rebut, okay?
And then we will ask you any other questions. Go ahead,
Fair
sir.
enough. The last speaker indicated some issues with traffic. Mr. Pena's report of October 14th, 2019, indicated the traffic, and I'm quoting, the traffic entrances do not show any adverse effects to the surrounding roadways. There was no indication in Mr. Pena's report, which was a recommendation for Bangin to proceed with some provisos, but in terms of traffic, that was not one of the concerns that it certainly raised to a level of a problem from the planning and the zoning department. I think Mr. Pena's memo of October 14th delineated what perceived concerns were, but I think, Mr. Pena and his department understood very clearly, and I'm trying to be as political as I can, but there's some notion of a scare that our citizens, and these are our citizens, the citizens of West Miami, that may have a tough day, a tough week. Somebody dies, there's a breakup, and they need some help, that somehow face-eating zombies are going to be walking the streets of West Miami. We're better than that. We really are. We're just better than that. And this notion that people are going to be driving cars up the sidewalks, knocking people over. And the other point is that the Nicholas facility is not in the city of West Miami. We're talking about the confines of the city of West Miami and what Bangin can do for this city. I just want it to be taken under deep consideration that the services that Bangin proposes to provide are services for our families, to your families, and perhaps my family, and perhaps me. There's nothing insidious, and there should not be anything considered insidious about those services, or that in any way will defile the city or in any way harm the safety or welfare of this city. Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan. I will again open it up to the table for any questions.
Excuse me. There's no emotion here, no hyperbole. I mean, we're all in a fact-finding effort here. So, you know, my concern is, and alluding to the traffic, you said that Mr. Pena said that there was not going to be a traffic issue. Is that just coming from you, Mr. Pena, or is this a scientific traffic study that we did?
No, sir, that's from me.
That's from you, okay.
It's part of the memo, it's part of the memo we have in our package, November
Okay,
19th.
I didn't see that. How many parking spaces is being considered, or you have for this project?
60.
60.
60, they're approved.
60.
Correct.
That's including for the staff also? Staff
In
and?
total.
In
60.
total, 60?
Correct.
Okay. How much staff you're gonna planning on having there? How many cars you think will be staff?
We will, we're anticipating opening with 15 staff members. You know, statistically, 70%, 80% will drive, so you're at 12 cars, and then that would leave 48 for patients. We would never hit that number.
So you anticipate a lot of traffic, patient traffic and car traffic? To have that many parking spots?
Well, it's there. I mean, it's the property. We didn't, it's part and parcel of the lease arrangement.
Right.
The owners of the property own that's within the four walls of their property. It's part of our lease arrangement. Perhaps we wouldn't have chosen it if we had to build it ourselves, but it's there and it's part of the lease.
Okay. I don't know if it was you or it was a doctor that said something, kind of jumped out at me, something about open 24 hours?
No, so I don't know if that's what the doctor said, but let me try to be clear. The hours are 9 to, hopefully if we proceed with the project, will be 9 to 5, Monday through Friday.
Okay, so who said that? Because somebody said 24 hours.
I don't know.
Okay.
The doctor may have
Yes.
alluded to it,
Yeah.
that didn't
Yes.
specifically say it, but alluded to that.
Yeah.
I do have that note, I was gonna ask that same question, Commissioner. And counsel, if I may, it does say here in your application that you'll be open on Saturdays. So if you could,
That's not, that may initially will be open Monday to Friday.
then why does it say Saturdays?
I will have that revised then.
So you are stating on the record you will not be open on Saturdays.
A year, 2 years down the road, but initially the plan is
Very
Monday to
well.
Friday.
Very well, thank you. Okay. Go ahead, sorry, Commissioner.
So you say you were going to clarify something for me. Do you have something?
I'm trying to remember.
It was about the five,
Yes,
the five rooms for mental health examinations and psychiatric room.
The author,
You're asking for that. You're asking us to approve that. And my question to you is, you know, why have so many if you're standing there telling me that you don't anticipate anybody? And you're telling me that maybe we'll get one or two come in and they might be a little bit depressed.
okay, so I think.
Please clarify that. That's very important.
I spent,
Okay.
if I may, by way of analogy,
So I need to make a decision here and it needs to be clear.
Mr. Blaines, I spent 3 decades of my life at what's referred to as big law, and there were times that we had leases. And as we entered into our lease negotiations and sought all the requirements, we were told, you know, how many secretarial stations and this and that. Is that ultimately the plan? But those who are in the medical field felt that that was an appropriate analysis at the time of this submission, that was, but it was never intended, much like if business is requiring us to be open on a Saturday, at some point we would seek that. But if the need is there for more medical attention and the allocation needs to be for medical needs, we're not going to just turn them into bug cases. We will use those offices for medical needs. But the allocation was not intended to be etched in stone. It was the initial allocation of approximately 20 offices and how we were going to go about using those. And that's really the best answer I can give you. Otherwise, I'm making it up, and I'm trying to be as candid as I can be.
You know, I'm a simple person, and I look at things in simple terms. And, you know, you're just not convincing me. You just don't have an answer, a simple answer.
Well,
You're
I'm
telling
trying
me that
to,
you've been in law for 30 years, and that's commendable. That's fantastic. That's great. But, you know, it's not addressing my concern
I'm
here.
trying-
And you know exactly what I'm alluding to.
Mr. Mullins, what I'm not going to say, because it's not true, is that we want 5 offices for mental health because we expect an abundance of people with mental health issues. That's not what we anticipate. As I've said, and I want to be clear on the record before this commission, the facility at 8th Street, if we are so, if we receive the benefits and can open that and operate it, will be a primary health facility with the services that I outlined. And as you can see, they are all fall within the ambit of primary care for adults, children, women, and what have you. In addition to that, we have an organization that has a long and established history of knowing about mental illnesses. And when we see that, we're going to handle primary care. We are not going to shut our eyes to people with difficulties. And whether it's 2 offices, 3 offices, 5 offices, I think the author of that document made a conscious effort to lay out what they perceive to be the initial need. And that's the best answer I can give you.
Good enough. Thank you. I have another question. What's an ethical pharmacy?
That's a misnomer. There's no such thing as an ethical
Right.
pharmacy.
Oh.
And the reason that they put that there is because we still have it in the code.
Right.
But that's only a pharmacy.
I was trying to
We,
figure that one out.
No, but that's not their fault, that's ours.
I was,
Okay.
I didn't know,
So-
and so
so-
we put it in there because that's what was in the code.
So tell me about this pharmacy. There's going to be a pharmacy on the premises.
Correct.
Okay, so.
Much like a hospital, we see somebody, they need an antibiotic, they need a drug, and they can pick it up before they leave.
So it's a full-service pharmacy.
Correct.
Okay.
May I make a clarification, please?
Yes, please.
The reason that we have a special use permit is that we set up the parameters of what that facility is going to be used for. In other words, if you say, sir, that you're going to open the Monday to Friday, it has to be Monday to Friday. And can be no deviation unless you come back and get approval from the commission. In addition, if you say that you're going to have a certain amount of people or services, that's the way that it's going to be, because it is a specific special permit. So it cannot be deviated pursuant to the convenience of whatever business there is, whether that's a clinic or a bank or whatever, okay?
Counsel, if may I address that?
Sure.
I'm still troubled by the notion that the code of the City of Miami has that the C use references a medical and dental office, and I'm struggling with why Banyan doesn't fall within the ambit of that use.
It says office, so it's singular. It doesn't say offices, that is plural.
Well, I would suggest, very respectfully, that the list that I provided to you of organizations in the city of West Miami have offices with multiple doctors, surgical facilities with multiple doctors, and they have C permits.
We're not talking about that, sir. We're talking about the impact that we have in the, I mean, that's the way the code reads, so I cannot change it. So, but we're talking about the impact that it has, having, how many parking spaces you said you had?
60.
Okay, according to what I read here, also, you will start with 18 employees and could be at some point some 30 employees, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so that's the impact that I believe that the commissioner is asking.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney. Madam Manager?
Madam Mayor, may I ask the applicant a question, please?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Sir, is this going to be classified as an intake or receiving facility, Banyan?
No.
No?
And let me make sure that I understand the nomenclature. That it would be receiving from a court-ordered facility or?
Correct.
No.
Not from Jackson, not from Larkin or any other medical facility?
No.
For follow-up treatment?
No.
And I have another question, Madam Mayor. I think that the presentation basically alluded to the fact that they're, if granted this application, they will be serving the West Miami community. What assurances do you have that your patients will all come from the city of West Miami? Have you done any surveying, any marketing in the area? Have you been approached by residents that want to receive your services?
The FQHC is a federally qualified medical facility. There are analyses prepared as to areas within the country that would benefit, whether it's income levels, age. They look at the demographics, and the city of West Miami fell within the ambit of the FQHC analysis.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Mr. Morgan, I have a
Yes.
question.
Let me go further in saying that the application reads for medical center. It doesn't read for a medical office. So a medical center, it's supposed to be wider projection than a single medical office.
Okay.
Mr. Penna, may I ask you a question? I could swear that I read this. Have we recently changed the description of the first paragraph in our application for special use? The ones I've seen prior to this had a completely different wording. If you will, I'm referring to this first paragraph. The application for special use permit. Did we recently change the wording of that? I know I've read a different description of a special use permit.
Well, there are different applications that you have looked at.
No, the wording of this first paragraph on our application.
Correct. This is for special use for the section dealing with uses for commercial applications. You have special use permit for planned development dealing with development.
Okay.
You have special use dealing with waiver of plat.
Understood.
Tentative plats.
Understood. Thank you for the clarification. Thank you. Mr. Morgan, I'm sorry, first, are there any other questions?
Do I have to read it again?
No.
Well, then I make a motion.
Well, what?
We haven't-
Your first
we haven't-
motion was,
That's what I'm asking the mayor.
I'm asking if, do we have, because I still have some questions, if I may. Commissioner, do you have any, Vice Mayor, do you have any questions, comments?
I just want to make some comments that to this very nice group of people, business people, professional, doctor, counselor, and we appreciate you select the West Miami to bring this application. Let me tell you that we are in a small city, but we have also medical facilities around for our residents. We have the Children's Hospital, 62nd Avenue and 29th or 30th Street. We have urgent care by Baptist Hospital by 37th Avenue. We will have a Jackson Memorial Hospital. They are going to open an urgent care at 8th Street in Galliano. We have an urgent care Bell Road and 72nd Avenue. I mean, in reference to that, we have places to go, when somebody is sick. Also, we have the Rescue 40. Behind this building is the fire department with a big truck. Rescue 40 is right here. So we have protection about our residents. Okay? And This is one thing, I congratulate you because you make a nice presentation of your business and your group. Of course, we have here doctors and dentists, individual offices. Dr. Perez, Dr. Schweitzer, whatever. But you are an institution. It's a big difference. The offices that we have here in the city, small offices, private, personal, individual, to your institution, what you represent, is a big thing. I just want to make a clarification about that, the difference about that. So by now, this is the, I just want to let know this group. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. A couple of questions, and I want to get to some clarifications from staff. Mr. Morgan, you have mentioned several times that you are a federally qualified health center. Federally qualified health center, does that mean you are federally funded as well?
There are funds that will emanate from that for medical services, correct?
And being a federally funded health center, are you not able to turn away any patients that come through your doors?
We don't turn away people who come through our doors.
Well, you stated that you would be sending patients, if they came strictly for mental health services, that you would send them elsewhere.
We would send them to our other facilities.
So if your facility is federally funded, you are able to turn away patients?
No, I'm not making myself clear. The services that, if someone came to our facility, a little unusual if they had a drug issue, if you will, and going through withdrawals, we wouldn't turn them away. We just wouldn't deal with them at the 8th Avenue facility. We have other facilities, so it wouldn't be a matter of turning them away.
You would redirect them?
Correct.
Okay.
I have a question. I mean, let's just say that that's the case. Okay, you have somebody having withdrawals or DTs, you know, that's a very serious situation. You can't reroute that patient and send them somewhere else. Actually, they need to be in an emergency room. They are in dire need of medical assistance. So you're telling me that you're going to take a patient like that and you're going to send them to another facility to be treated?
Mr. Blaine's.
Because, you know, withdrawal symptoms, DTs, that's emergency room type situation. You can die in a heartbeat from those conditions that you're mentioning. So, I mean,
Well,
that doesn't make any sense.
I'm sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Mr. Blaine's, today, there are people in the emergency room at Baptist Hospital that are going through withdrawals. And are they going through the heartaches that you're mentioning? And we have a contract with them. And we pick them up and we send them to our facility. So the very thing that you're referring to is happening today. And the reason being is that Baptist doesn't do as good a job as we can after 50 years of understanding the symptoms and the methodologies to help folks. So that's what's going on today.
Another question for you, sir. Is your facility
That's not
going to
too
be
clear for me.
appointments only, or will you take walk-ins?
I don't have that answer.
Does anyone here have that answer? And the answer is?
Yes, we would take walk-ins as well.
Okay, so Banyan, obviously your name precedes this facility that you would like to open. So Banyan is known and has been known for, how long has Banyan been around?
50 years.
50 years. Banyan is well known as a mental health service provider. So if you take walk-ins, there is nothing that's going to stop walk-ins requesting mental health services because of your well-known reputation as being a qualified mental health provider, right?
That's correct.
So you will take walk-ins. I just want to be sure I establish that. You will take walk-ins, it's
Correct.
not appointment-based only. Okay.
Madam Mayor, the
Yes.
specific question from one of the applicants.
I'm sorry? There is
You
a
raised up your
question? Okay.
Please approach the podium.
Well, my question was answered. My question was, would you take walk-ins? And the answer was yes.
Right, so we do take walk-ins, absolutely. People walk in, but being a primary care facility, we have another primary care facility in the vicinity. We don't have mental health walk-ins at that facility because frankly, we have pediatrics, we have primary care physicians at that facility. That is the type of facility that this will be. It will be a replica of our other primary care facility. So although we do have walk-ins, I don't want to mischaracterize those walk-ins. Those walk-ins will be the services that we perform. Now, yes, we do have a psychiatric room. That is for a psychiatrist, right? And that, what you see in the plans is really something that will be developed over the next 5 years. We're not going to fill that facility in year one, so it's going to take some time. So your questions regarding those 5 therapy offices, well, that
If you would, sir, just address my question about the walk-ins.
So yes, we will take walk-ins, but the walk-ins will be primarily primary care walk-ins.
With all due respect, how do you know what a walk-in's going to be if it's a walk-in?
Because we already do it at 3733, our other primary care facility.
There is no way you can tell me you will know what every walk-in is coming for. They're a walk-in.
We won't know what every walk-in will be. No, we
Correct.
won't.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
it
that-
will be a primary care facility. Those are the individuals that we'll treat.
Granted. But your name, your high-quality services will lend to walk-ins being perhaps mental health service required, because it's a walk-in. If it's an appointment, you'll know what that patient is coming to you for.
That might be perhaps.
A walk-in, you will not know what they're walking in for. Whether it's a cut on their finger, a broken arm, a broken tooth,
Correct.
or in need of mental health services.
Correct.
Because it's a walk-in. So
Correct.
thank you, that answered my question. Thank
Sir,
you, sir.
what's your
I have a
name for the
question for you, sir.
record?
Name and address for the record for the gentleman.
Vicente Carrodewas, 10150 Southwest 118 Terrace.
And your relation to the company is?
I work for the company.
Okay, thank you, sir.
I have a question for you. Something you said just jumped out at me. You said that you're comparing this primary care facility to your other primary care facilities.
Correct.
Which ones?
We have a
that?
primary care facility on West Flagler where we treat basically primary care facilities, primary care patients. We do have walk-ins. We have other facilities that we refer to for mental health counseling. We don't do it at that facility.
Okay. Thank you.
What's the address of the Flagler location, please? The one you just mentioned? What's the address of that Flagler location?
3733 West Flagler.
Thank you, sir. So that's known as Banyan Health Systems,
Correct.
yes?
Correct.
It's a question back there, Mayor.
I'm
It's a
sorry.
question back there.
Question? Okay. Please,
You have to come and
please come
identify
forward
for the
and state
record,
your name and
please.
address for the record. Is this a question or is a presentation? What-
It's in response to a question that was asked.
Okay.
Name and
I'm
address for
concerned.
the record, please.
I am Dr. Moraima Trujillo. I'm a doctor that works for Banyan Health System, and I am the Chief Medical Officer in charge of the Crisis and Stabilization Services. And you stated that you had some concerns about any psychiatric or any substance abuse walk-in that may be going into DTs or withdrawals. We handle those every single day of our lives at 3800 West Flagler Street, which is an inpatient psychiatric unit. Anyone that comes in as a walk-in to any of our mental health facilities or any of our primary care facilities will be screened, and a decision will be made if they need medical care, psychiatric or substance abuse, and they'll be rerouted to the facility that does provide the accurate services.
Will you transport them there, or how will they get
Yes.
there?
Yes, we will transport
So you will
them there.
transport them
We will-
from
yes.
your facility to another facility?
Yes, we will transport them from that facility to our facility. In fact, we have an MRT, mobile response team, that if the facility in 8th Street and 6400 calls and says, Someone walked in here with a health disorder that is not primary care, it's mental health or substance abuse, we will go pick him up and take him to the crisis unit at 3800.
Thank you, Doctor. I have a question, if I may, on police procedure, Chief or Deputy Chief. If there is an officer, City of Miami, Coral Gables, anywhere with our surrounding area, unincorporated Dade, and that situation were to result in, I'm not sure what the terminology is, someone requiring mental services.
Commonly referred to as being Baker acted?
Thank you. Yes, that
Okay.
is what I'm saying. That officer responds to the call and finds out that that is the situation. Does that officer take that person to Turner Guilford? Do they take them to specific hospital? Or do they take them to the nearest facility that would provide the care that's required?
They would take him to a medical facility.
Mhm.
The closest one that we take him to is either Larkin or the one at Palmetto and Coral Way, Westchester.
Mhm.
I don't know if this would be a facility where we would be able to take those patients.
So having a banyan, because that's what this facility will be called, officers know very well from past experience that banyan would be the place to take this particular person, correct?
I can't answer that, but if they are a psychiatric receiving
If they
that,
provide such services,
they could
they would
very
take them
well
to
be
the
an
closest
intake
one.
facility. They could
To the
very well
closest
be.
one. Thank you, sir.
Mhm.
Yes, would you like to approach again?
We are a mental health receiving facility. We receive Baker Acts and Marchman Acts at 3800 West Flagler Street. So most of the time, our local police officers, whenever they have someone that needs immediate psychiatric evaluation for determination of dangers to self and others, it's picked up and taken. And we are your closest receiving facility, and we have been certified for years.
Mhm. But Banyan being well-known for that, what's to stop an officer when they know that there's a Banyan here in West Miami and they're across the street in the city of West Miami to not come to this facility?
I'm sorry.
Okay, Banyan is well-known for that excellent care that you provide as far as mental health and receiving Baker Act patients, correct?
At 3800 West Flagler Street.
And that's
yes.
probably well-known throughout the police community,
Yes,
right?
it is.
Okay, so if I have a police officer, let's say in the city of Miami, which is across the street from 8th Street, and they know that there is a Banyan facility here, they will not know that you're designating this facility as being different from all the others. So they will more than likely come here
Madam
to this
Chair,
facility, yes?
Madam
or
Chair,
no?
I understand your concern, and
Okay.
I will actually address it the following.
Mhm.
I am one of the CIT trainers,
Mhm.
Crisis Intervention Team trainers for the police department. I train them every other week under the Hapsi Kaba. You're probably familiar with her. Every single police officer, and we have trained over 6,000 police officers, knows my name, knows my location, knows our location as a Marchman Act receiving facility and a Baker Act receiving facility, and they actively utilize our services whenever they have to Baker Act or Marchman Act. I can understand that if we have Banyan at the primary care clinic, that may be a concern. And I don't believe the police department that have gone through all this training, I will make the mistake of identifying Banyan Primary Care Clinic as a receiving facility for Baker Act and Marchman Act.
I don't believe that's going to be the name of your facility according to the application. It's not going to say Banyan Primary Care Facility. Or am I wrong? So we don't really know what the name's going to be at this point? For signage. Wouldn't they have to have put their name on their application as to what they're going to be called or known as?
Madam Mayor, if I may, there's a recommendation by the Planning and Zoning Department.
Right, well, I'm getting there.
And
These are just part of my questions.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
The purpose of this hearing is whether or not you will accept the recommendation or reject the recommendation.
Absolutely, but there are questions I have that will get me to that, Mr. Attorney. Thank you. Thank you for that clarification, Doctor. Boom, 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 boom. One moment, let me just refer to some notes I took here. Council, if you could approach, in your initial presentation, you alluded to the fact that our chief had provided incorrect facts.
No, so let me be clear. My view was that his comments were premised upon what I believe to be incorrect facts, and those were the need for additional police, the increase, the 400,000. That was premised upon what I thought I heard, which was that the facility was going to be one where folks with mental health issues, psychiatric problems, drug rehabilitation. I don't believe I heard the chief mention primary care. I think his focus was on these other matters, which is not what the import of that facility is. And I don't, I suppose I don't agree that there would be any need for increased police.
Well, thank you, but I just want to make a personal comment that I take offense to anyone standing at my podium and saying that my chief of police was incorrect, because I know he did his research, and I will take whatever he says
Madam Chair,
over anyone else that stands at the podium.
Madam Chair, I believe he said he did his homework, and I don't dispute that he did his homework on what Bangin has been, but I don't know if I were to ask him questions and ask him to presume it's a primary care facility, would he have the same opinion as to the additional need for police and costs?
I'm sure he based his information on his knowledge of police work, and you're basing yours on knowledge of health centers. So as I stated, I will always take what he says as truth and fact over anyone else that stands at the podium. I just want to make that personal clarification with you, because I know you alluded to the fact that he perhaps was mistaken. Okay, so with that said, a few other comments. Many times you said the word intent, the intent of the facility, the intent of what's stated in the application. In my opinion, intentions are one thing, and actuality is completely different. So I'm not going to deal with intentions, but I'm going to deal with actuality. Actuality being, again, your reputation, the reputation that precedes you. And I know what you're saying is this is going to be a primary care health facility. But going to something that Ms. Milian brought up, what guarantee do I have that it says that in your contract with the federal government or any contract? What guarantee do I have going forward, once you open your doors, that that is all you will be, is a primary care health facility?
Madam Chair, we would not make a presentation to you or anybody else in a governmental position and lie. It's not what we do.
I appreciate that.
And we haven't done it for 50 years, and we're not going to take any opportunity to do that.
So is it not written anywhere in your contract or documents that that is all you will ever be at this location? I'm speaking of this location, not your others.
What I said is what we're going to be. I mean, I don't know if I can capture in a sentence, but what I represented to you is what we're going to be.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
If I can just have a moment here, because I wrote a lot of things down, so give me one moment to be sure that I allow you the opportunity to answer all of my questions. Okay, so some notes that I made to myself. Mr. Penna, Mr. Morgan also kept questioning our Ordinance 282, and he stated that medical and dental is a permitted use, whereas I happen to know the opposite. So could you clarify that?
Medical and dental office, as stated on the 282, 73 uses allowed, is for a single doctor, his own office.
Okay.
Same thing for dentists.
And that's where the attorney said offices. Now I
Correct.
understand. Okay. And Mr. Morgan, I know you presented this to me, thank you, your list of doctors. But since I am not privy to this actual special use, I'm sure they all had to come to us with a special use, so I do not know the parameters of any of these. I cannot speak to it or hold it as truth or fact, because I do not know what their special use permit request was. So thank you for presenting it, but I really can't take this into consideration since I was not present during any of these hearings.
Okay.
But thank you for presenting it to
The
me.
representation was that these are C, they're not special use. It's part of the public record. And they're not simply an office, these are offices with multiple doctors.
Again, since I don't know that for a fact, I wasn't a part of any of these special use applicant requests. I thank you for presenting it, but I can't use it as part of my decision. But thank you for presenting. Yes, sir?
Madam Mayor, with all due respect, we're not taking into consideration other clinics or other
I understand.
physicians
That's what
or
I'm-
other-
that's exactly what I'm saying.
We're just talking about this facility. I think that you should address just this issue and the two possibilities, either you approve or disapprove the recommendation of the zoning board, period. Nothing else.
I'm going there, and that's why I thanked him for presenting it, but I can't use it. That's exactly where I was going. Okay, thank you, sir.
I mean, you might not take it into consideration, but you have to use it. I mean, it's before you.
Well, I just said how I was going to use it.
Okay.
I wasn't going to, because I can't. I'm not.
Right.
Thank you. In my experience, the purpose of a special use permit is to see the intent of and appropriateness of the applicant and how it fits with our community. As Vice Mayor Suarez commented, we have a lot of providers, maybe not necessarily within our boundaries, but very close to us. Ms. Millian alluded to Nicholas Children's, which again is a world-class facility, and it's 2 minutes from us. So yes, it's not within our boundaries, but it's 2 minutes away. And I know that it is not mandatory, or are we obliged to approve something that is not in the code or permitted by the list. It seems to me that every aspect of your application is something that is not already an approved use of the location. So with that said, I'm going to see if there's anything else that needs to be said here at the table. And I know that we're here to overturn or accept the recommendation of our Planning and Zoning Board, which I respect their time. I respect their professionalism when they look at every application. I know that they go about it in a very professional way and take everything into consideration. And I value their opinion of all our boards. I value the opinion of all our boards, which our boards are, as you know, made up of residents. So these are people who live here and care very much about our city, and I'm sure their decisions are based on that. So with that said, anything else?
Do I have to read what I read?
Let's let the commissioner, one more.
I just want to make a brief comment. The city of West Miami is like a pediatric patient. You know, we're a very small city.
Mm-hmm.
We cannot absorb, you know, the kind of dose that is being presented here today. So based on everything I've heard and based on everything that was not answered adequately, I'm going to base my decision, so.
Okay.
That's it.
Well,
Commissioner?
I had a motion on the table already. I'm sorry, but
Madam Mayor, we have a resolution that we must read
well,
for the record.
Let's be, Commissioner, Vice Mayor, did you have anything else? Did you have anything else, Vice Mayor, before the clerk reads your resolution?
Yes, I like to expressed to this group, which is a business group, and they have good intentions to make their business grow, and they spend money to looking for locations and looking for places. But in my opinion, Mayor, we have a lot. Dentists, I already told, dental and personal individual offices, medical offices. But this is a big thing. This is an institution. 9 medical examination rooms, 5 dental service chairs, 5 mental health examination room, 1 psychiatric room, 3 medical and administrative office. Also, they have a pharmacy. I'm pretty sure they have in that pharmacy special drugs for special treatment of mental patients. And in my opinion, I am not in the medical business. You are in the medical business, I am not. I was selected in this city to use the common good, the common sense for the common good. And I try to make the best for our residents. And our residents wants to be have peace and tranquility in this city. And I think this institution really is not the tranquility, the peace that our residents want to have a small city with small businesses and have a family-oriented life. Is my opinion. This is a big institution for us.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Okay, Madam Clerk, can you read the resolution, please?
Yes, item 11B, a resolution of the City of West Miami, Florida for site plan approval of special use permit for Banyan Health Systems LLC, 6400 Southwest 8th Street, West Miami, Florida 32144. Requirements for improvements to the existing building and land in the City of West Miami, and in lieu of thereof, requiring certain improvements and other terms and conditions.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, please?
I already make a motion to deny this application.
Thank you.
Well, that motion was premature. Would you please repeat it again, please?
Motion? What is your motion?
First of all, Madam, you have to close the hearing for the public and then go back to the table.
I already did, sir.
Okay,
I closed
fine.
it prior
Okay.
to,
Yes,
invited the
yes, Mr.
applicant back up for
Attorney.
I
questions.
apologize.
Okay, so I need a motion. Would you please restate your motion?
I make the
Commissioner?
motion to deny the application.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second?
Madam Clerk, can you call the vote, please?
On the motion, Commissioner Blanes, how do you vote?
Yes.
Yes to deny
Yes
the
to deny.
application. Commissioner Suarez, Vice Mayor Suarez,
Yes, to deny. Keep the planning and zoning opinion,
recommendation.
recommendation.
Commissioner Blanca, how do you vote?
Yes.
Yes. Mayor Rodriguez, how do you vote?
And I vote yes.
4-0.
In our abundance of caution, I would like to put it this way also. My understanding is that what you're doing is you're accepting or not accepting the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Board. What the intent is to accept the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Board, correct?
Right, yeah.
That
Yes.
is correct, sir. We are accepting the
Okay.
recommendation of the
will you all
Planning and
repeat
Zoning
that,
Board
please?
to deny the application.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. 4-0, item passes in favor of denying the application and accepting the recommendation for the Planning and Zoning Board.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next item?
Next item would be item 11C. This is a public hearing, property
Thank you very much.
address. Property address 143133 and 144143 Southwest 66th Avenue, West Miami, Florida 33144. Special use permit for planned development, number 2019-004. Applicant Elite Homes 14XX LLC. Applicant requests a special use permit for planned development of 253-foot lot previously submitted for a tentative plat for the property at 14XX Southwest 66th Avenue, West Miami, Florida 33144. The property is zoned for R2 duplex, and the applicant is requesting to build 2-story duplex homes divided by a party wall on each lot parcel. The developer will construct 2 new 2-family, 2-story duplex. Parcel is zoned for R2 duplex, zoning ordinance 282, section 2B.
Thank you, Madam Clerk, and I hope no one minds, but Mr. Penna, before you speak, may I call for a quick break?
My speak will be very quick.
Can you hold it?
Sure.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, thank you for reading that, but I'd like to call for a break at this time.
Right.
To blow my nose and let me out.
Mira que hoy se portó súper bien. Hoy sí estuvo bien inteligente.
Él quería ir a rescue contigo.
Dice Candy que hoy estuviste bien inteligente. Muy inteligente estuviste hoy.
You see, Rhonda, I
Works
listen.
every time.
¿Sí? Hoy te la comiste, vaya.
No, but I got, that attorney, I don't know, I think I could have made a better, put on a better.
Oh, yeah, accelerate this, please.
Let's go, let's do it, let's go. All right. Meeting's called back to order at 9:35. Madam Clerk, you read the item, and Mr. Penna, you were about to present to us. Please, continue.
Madam Mayor, the applicant is not present, so I would request that we continue it to January.
January 15th.
You could have told me that.
That's exactly what I meant to say, and you said, no, you hold it.
Madam Mayor, he tried his defense.
He did try.
He did try.
He did try.
So if we could continue it to the second meeting in January 15th.
Yes. Yes.
You
we
need
may.
to open and close the public hearing,
Yes.
continuing it to
Yes, Madam
January
Mayor.
15th.
You know, open the public hearing. There's no one here to speak. Close the public hearing. Mr.
And are
Penna.
all in favor to continue this public hearing on January 15, 2020
Aye.
at 7:30?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, and the next item,
Madam Mayor, would you like me to proceed with the rest of the items, or would you like to follow
back.
the original order of the agenda?
oh, we never did any of our reports. All right, let's go back to our reports.
So back to
Let's
the
go back to
original
the-
order of the agenda
Yes,
with
ma'am.
the item 6, report of the city manager.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the City Commission. You have a written report dated today. It's in your packet. The first item on my report is a movie night that Miami-Dade County Vice Chair Rebecca Sosa, District 6, and along with the mayor and City of West Miami City Commission, we will be hosting or collaborating to host a movie night at Cooper Park on Friday, December 6th. I know that the mayor had had conversations with the commissioner regarding a movie night. So what we did is we prepared a flyer for your approval this evening, and we have also forwarded the same to the District 6 office for approval of the wording and the layout by both the City of West Miami Commission and Commissioner Chairwoman Sosa's office. So we need to have this at the printers tomorrow at noon, because the printer will be closing the week of Thanksgiving. So if you like it and approve the wording, we can proceed with it. We will add the popcorn as suggested by Commissioner Blanes.
What do you mean we're adding popcorn?
I thought a little yellow would look good, it would jump out a little.
Oh, I
It's
thought you.
movie night.
Oh, but we're not serving popcorn.
Butter popcorn.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah, and it's green because obviously it's the
Grinch.
holiday
It's the
season and the Grinch.
Yes, of course.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So-
And Madam Manager, if I may, you are correct. I spoke to Vice Chairwoman Sosa many times on this, so I want to publicly thank her for sponsoring this and, you know, allowing us to co-sponsor it with her, and for holding this in our city, because I have had a lot of residents that have asked about it.
Sure.
So I want to publicly thank her for doing this with us.
So
Thank
we
you. Go
will
ahead.
be, thank you, we'll be delivering the flyers the week after next, early week, so that'll give us 4 or 5 days to notify the residents.
Okay.
The next item is our employee Thanksgiving luncheon is scheduled for Monday, November 25th. We've calendared the event, and we trust that you can take some time from your busy schedule to have lunch with us. Lunch will be served at approximately 1:30. We have a 1 p.m. invite. The City of West Miami Community Center will be having their luncheon on Friday of this week, our senior citizens. I am advised by the Community Center Director, Evelyn Mayo Paz, that the turkeys will be delivered by the city to all homebound clients tomorrow. Our committee chair, Commissioner Luciano Suarez, was able to secure all the turkeys for the congregate and home-delivered meal clients. So this is a tremendous contribution to our seniors. And as a reminder, on Friday, the 22nd, starting at about 11:45 in the morning, we hope you can join us. We've also calendared this event. I believe Commissioner Suarez has invited the members of the Miccosukee tribe to attend the event, as they do every year, and they did donate all the turkeys.
Thank you.
As part of our Thanksgiving holiday calendar, this is a reminder that City Hall will be closed on Thursday, November 28th, and Friday, November 29th, in observance of Thanksgiving. The police department will be open for business as customary, 24/7, over the holidays, and there will be garbage collection on both days. And at this point, I'd like to take this opportunity to wish the mayor, the vice mayor, city commissioners, and every member of our city, both staff and employees, and our residents, a very blessed Thanksgiving holiday. Holiday patrols, I spoke to Deputy Chief Avila late this afternoon, and he has assured us that they will be implementing the holiday patrols that the chief and the deputy chief provide as extra protection to the residents of the city, starting on Thursday, December 5th, during peak hours for holiday shoppers, as we do on a yearly basis. These holiday patrols will be in effect until January 1st, 2020. I put here 2019. This is incredible. We're already looking at 2020. These patrol efforts will be devoted to the residential areas, barring any unforeseen emergencies. The past Halloween, the first Halloween event, actually my assistant prepared a memo with what we had in terms of a budget for the event, and we estimated initially a cost of $7,500, which is what we budgeted for this event. We received $450 from 2 merchants, and those donations, as requested by the merchants, went to pay for candy. The city spent a total of $8,353 towards the event, so we were close. We were close to our projection and our budget. Nonetheless, I think that we will need to increase the budget for a total of $10,000 next year. So we have to keep this in mind as we go through next year's budget presentation. The next item in my report is the Miami-Dade County Delegation public hearing will be held on December 2nd, 2019, and that is before the Dade County Delegation, where the delegation will be sitting to listen to every municipal legislative priority request. This is what they take back with them to Tallahassee. Our legislative consultants, Converge, will be at hand. Mario Bailey will be expecting Mayor Rhonda Rodriguez, who will be presenting before the delegation. We are advised that the presentation is a 2-minute presentation. So Mayor will be working with you to assist you in presenting or summarizing the needs that we have in our priority, on the resolution of priority and needs.
Perfect, thank you.
The mayor suggested that and has requested that we calendar our commissioners and invite them to join you at the Miami-Dade County School Board building on December 2nd. The time certain will be announced probably in the coming week or so. So we'll have a better sense of time at that time. To add to my report.
Excuse me?
Yes.
What is December 2nd?
The Miami-Dade County Delegation hearing.
No, but
This
the
is-
school board, what do you mean the school?
It is at the school board building. The presentations, the school board has offered, I guess, their facility. Yes, yes. We don't have a time certain for the presentation, but we'll know in the coming days as the agenda is prepared and municipalities confirmed. The next item on my report, which is not my report, but I would like for you to consider inclusion on it, is a memorandum by our Director of Public Works regarding an antique car show. And Mr. Penna, I would encourage you to listen to his report at this time. It's a request. It's a request. I have mine, thank you.
Mayor, Commissioners, as you know, I am an antique car enthusiast. I have a 1965 Thunderbird, fully restored. And I also belong to the Classic Thunderbirds of South Florida Club, who meets in January at Tropical Park every year. However, this will be their last year after 20 years at their present location, because the county is building a building on the area that they use for the car show. So in conversations with the president, I suggested that we could do an event, smaller event at Cooper Park. They were looking to probably do it this year. However, in thinking about it and discussing with the other board members of the Cub Show, they decided, or they would rather do the last one here at Tropical Park so that they could also give future date and place to all the participants that join them at Tropical Park every year. They don't want to just disappear from that location and all of a sudden just show up here and wait till everybody filters over. So in anticipation, we're looking at January 24th, 2021, which is the fourth Sunday in the year 2021, January, to do it at Cooper Park. I put some pictures on the back of what they do in Lakeland, which would be a similar show to what we would want to place there. We'll bring about 125 cars to the park, all parked nice and neat to display the different style of cars and the different ages of the cars.
Do you think we have room there for that?
Yes.
That's a nice show.
As long as we get to drive the cars.
You could be the valet to park them in place, yes.
Okay.
They also wanted to change the trophy, which is they always give a best in show at the park. So this year at Tropical Park, they will still do it there, but they're going to name that trophy the Mayor's Choice Award. And whichever car she chooses among all the participants this year will get the trophy named after the City of West Miami mayor.
No pressure.
That's putting a lot of pressure on me, don't you think?
That's up to you to decide which car. Obviously,
Do I need to know like,
a
do I need to know like engine size and
No.
and horsepower?
you
and
need to like what you're looking at.
That's it.
So a 1965 maroon Thunderbird with a black
No,
top.
no, don't.
Tag number?
No preferential treatment here. Don't taint the dirt. No.
So if you agree, I will let the board at the Thunderbird Club know so that they can make preparations for next year.
That would be for 21.
Yes.
That would be good.
Gables people that are going to like it. People from Gables.
We have all kinds of followers, and we have all kinds of antiques.
I know.
I think that is a great way
This is a nice
to
show.
showcase our park and
I think Mr.
perhaps bring
Villalobos have
a
an
lot of
antique
future rental requests, because once all these people see our park and realize how beautiful it is and how centrally located we are, it could bring about additional rental requests. So as long as you know that they'll fit there, Mr. Penna?
This is a nice show. I think Mr. Villalobos have an antique car, right? You have an antique car?
Close.
What else are we gonna have? Maybe would have the food trucks too.
They provide their own
they-
food vendors.
This
okay.
this requires no
So they
work
do
on
everything.
The
our
only thing,
staff
the only
or-
thing that we will charge them for
Police.
is, again, the use of the park, police, and
Cleanup.
the permit fee that the city decides.
Clean up.
So we will, now would they be hiring police on an off-duty basis?
Yes,
So it's like a regular rental?
that's correct.
It's handled, we have nothing to do with it as far as setup. They
Yep.
pay the rental fee, they pay the off-duty police fee, And they pay the cleanup fee, all
Yes.
part of the rental agreement?
You're a guest.
Yes, yes, yes.
I
You're a
like the
guest.
idea. It's good.
And Mr. Penna, these cars obviously parked just for that one day are not going to No.
They're,
damage or?
some are towed in, some are brought in driven, and they stop there and they stay there for the rest of the day, and then they leave at the end of the show.
Perfect. Okay, I love the idea. I think it's a great way to showcase our city and our park.
I think you have an antique Jeep, right? You have a Jeep?
I do not have my Jeep any longer, thanks to my husband's choice in selling it. But he upgraded me to what I have now, so I can't complain. And the antique car we did have, we no longer have. But anyway, I'm in agreement with it. And,
Me three.
okay,
Me 4.
all right. You have our blessing, Mr. Penna.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Madam Manager, was that
Madam
all
Gonzalez,
for your
move.
report?
That concludes my report, Madam Mayor. If you have any questions, I'm
I do
happy
not.
to respond.
Thank you very much, Yolanda.
I do not.
We got 5 minutes.
Okay, next, Madam Clerk.
Item 7, report of the city attorney.
4 scores and 7 years.
Thank you, sir. Next, Madam Clerk.
Item 8, report of the city engineers, none this evening. Item 9, committee reports.
In the interest of time, I have nothing tonight.
Any
Go right
other
ahead.
committee?
I,
Oh, you do? I'm sorry. Thank you.
okay, thank you. In light of the upcoming regular city committee meetings, upcoming cancellation, it is my recommendation that we cancel December 4 meeting and schedule for December 18, 2019 regular meeting. This way, there will not be such a gap of almost 45 days without a meeting. At this time, I make a motion for reconsideration on this matter.
Okay, so let me understand, just,
I think it's the opposite. We
No.
always cancel the meeting by Christmas.
no, we do, but what Commissioner's asking now is that we switch it back around. Is that clear? Is that what I'm
So it won't be
understanding?
so it won't be so many days.
You want to have the meeting on the 4th? No.
Oh, no.
You want to cancel the 4th and have it on the 18th?
That's correct. This way, it won't be so many days without a meeting. It was, we get like 45 days without a meeting.
But we have meeting in the beginning of January.
We don't, we have January 1st is New Year's Day,
It's canceled, the
so
first
it's
meeting.
canceled.
Okay, then we have January 15th.
15th, correct.
Yeah, we have
It's
December
more than
4.
45 days without a meeting.
What is your problem with that? Christmas.
There's a
time.
Well,
motion
I
on the
put a motion.
table.
You
It's
agree or
Christmas
you
time.
don't?
There's a motion on
This
the
is the
table.
discussion. This is the discussion. Okay, so Vice Mayor, you're saying, what are you saying?
I know I don't have to see the day because by Christmas time, it's always a complication.
December 18 is not Christmas yet.
It's
I
very
yet.
close to Christmas.
It's a week before.
Commissioner Blanes, your thoughts? Do you have any?
No.
Okay. Thank you for that. All right, so, Madam Manager, your thoughts? No thoughts, okay?
No thoughts. I'm not gonna be here the week of December 4th. I've designated an acting city manager. I'm sure that Mrs. Leon is not gonna be able to attend the commission meeting in the evening, but the clerk is here, Mr. Penna, the chief, the deputy. So it's all up to you. If you wanna have your meeting on the 4th, and that's your
I have-
preference, if you wanna have it on the 18th, I will be back, and hopefully everybody will be here, Mr. Penna, our clerk, and our police
Okay,
administration.
what is required of us?
One regular
regular
meeting
meeting
per
a
month.
Okay,
The concern that Commissioner Blanca expressed to me this morning in the office when she came in is that we may have to bring some items to the commission regarding bank signatures and all that because of some changes that we are expecting at the end of December.
okay.
So the commissioner told me, she said, wouldn't it be better if we could have, instead of breaking the first meeting in December, breaking the second, I mean, going back to the, reverse the schedule, basically. Have a meeting on the 18th and, cancel the 4th.
May I?
Well, is that it? Are you done, Madam Manager? Okay, then yes, what,
Let me explain you, Ms.
okay.
Madam Mayor and Madam Manager.
Oh, I'm only asking a question,
I
no?
think we should cancel December 4 because it's the day kickoff party.
No,
Well,
that's
that-
December 5th.
No, December 4.
No, he's right, it's December
December
4th.
the 4th?
It is
Okay.
December 4th. Well, that is what Commissioner Blanca wants to do.
Yeah, I agree.
Now you agree.
I
Now
agree.
that you checked your social calendar.
Okay.
See, now that he checked his social, because
We have an activity.
he was not in agreement with this
yeah,
before. But now that he checked his social calendar,
sitio.
he is in complete
Un
agreement.
sitio.
Okay, my turn. Based on that, now that you've checked your social calendar, you've changed your outlook. Commissioner Blanes, it doesn't matter to Commissioner Blanes one way or the other. It doesn't matter to me one way or the other, as long as we comply with our one meeting a month. Our manager is not going to be here on the 4th, and I believe you just stated that Mrs. Leon possibly wouldn't be able to be here on the 4th. I don't know if we have any very pressing things that you are aware of that are coming
I
up.
may have some pressing matters involving commission action.
Can they wait until the 18th is
And
my question.
We need to wait until the 18th,
We need to
actually,
wait, okay,
because
so
some
that's
things
another
need
reason
to
to
be
wait until
lined
the
up.
18th. Now, Madam Clerk, do you have anything on your radar that cannot wait until the 18th? Okay, well then, all in favor of
Cancel 4.
canceling the 4th and having,
On the
and having the meeting on the 18th? All in favor, aye. Aye. Done.
Thank you.
I'm glad you checked your social calendar, Vice Mayor.
Yeah, because I have a person to meet and.
I'm glad he checked the social calendar, it was very important. Okay, next item.
Next item would be item 11,
I will put it on my calendar.
11F.
Remind me before I leave here tonight. Somebody remind me before I leave here tonight to change my calendar. Okay, go.
We will
Oh,
recalendar
thank you.
everyone
Thank you.
tomorrow.
Okay, go. Next.
Yes, item 11F, this is a resolution of the mayor and city commission of the city of West Miami waiving the competitive bid provisions of Florida statutes and city of West Miami code, authorizing the city manager an expenditure for the purpose of performing lining repairs to the sanitary sewer due to leaks found on Southwest 67th Avenue from 16th Street to Southwest 22nd Street, providing for a cap of $13,000 payable to Enviro Waste Services Group, Inc., for the purpose of accomplishing the sectional liner installation of certain sections of the sewer line on Southwest 67th Avenue from 16th Street to Southwest 22nd Street. Said funds shall be borne from account 580-237, providing for an effective date.
Mr. Penna, why are you always asking for money? Go right ahead. State your case, please, sir. State your case, sir.
Madam Mayor, Commissioners, that is my job.
Yes, I realize that.
The section of sewer line that we're speaking about is below the water table. It is on Southwest 67th Avenue, which is a heavily trafficked road. So at present time, rainwater drains into the sewer line, and we pay for it through our meter to WASA. Part of the consent decree is that any leaks like that need to be repaired. Slip lining the PVC line with this material will seal the leaks and put the sewer system back in compliance.
It's gotta get done, right?
Yes.
Sounds like the cost of doing business.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Item 11G, resolution of the mayor and city commission of the city of West Miami waiving the competitive bid provisions of Florida statutes and city of West Miami code, authorizing the city manager an expenditure for the purpose of correcting and repairing a water line where leaks have been found and conventional methods of repair cannot be used due to live oak trees in the path of repair work, providing for an amount of $14,094 payable to R&Y Underground, Inc. for the purpose of accomplishing the installation of plastic sections of water services lines on 66th Court from 16th Street to Southwest 18th Street from account 533237, providing for an effective date.
Wait, Mr. Peno, what does one have to do with the other? Is this the same thing?
No, these are two separate things. This is the water lines, the service lines that we have going to feed the different houses on those blocks. Both leaks that have been identified are under 2 oak trees that are close to 38 inches in diameter. And you can't cut the tree down to repair the line, so we need to go around them with a new line.
So this has nothing to do with the liner that we just talked
No,
about?
this is for a water line.
Putting what, PVC pipes
Around
the tree?
Yes, it's new plastic pipe, it's not PVC.
So,
Plastic.
I have a question. In this case, that the line is already there, it's a tree.
When they planted the tree, they didn't realize it was a water line under the tree.
Correct.
And now there's a problem in the line, and we cannot cut the tree, we cannot remove the tree in order to repair the line.
It's a protected species
So we have to go,
around it and abandon the section that goes through the tree.
like at the fence in the 62nd Avenue, you remember?
Yes.
The sidewalk,
Mhm.
the tree?
Correct.
Now the tree is up here with the hurricane and the sidewalk is around.
Correct. This is an oak tree, though. It's a very nice
No
oak.
way to waive or something and do this? And remove the tree and fix the line?
No, it's a humongous tree.
Motion.
So we could have these issues in other parts of the city, right?
Correct. This was identified through the water leak study.
Okay, Mr. Brenner, we need to start looking into mitigating some of these tree issues. I'm just saying for the record. Down the road, we need to.
Again, these are on private properties. These easements are still private property, and they're, per our ordinance, they're allowed to grow in private property,
But the tree is.
in the easement.
This tree is in private property?
Yes.
In the water line?
It goes through private property, through the easement.
But if it's in the private property, the owner of property has to fix it, no?
No, it's our water line. Our water line to service their homes.
Understand that.
The tree is theirs, the water line is ours.
It's a main, it's not a service line.
No, but my question is,
Mhm.
the water line belongs to the city,
That's correct.
and the tree on top of the line belongs to the owner of the house.
That's correct.
It's a conflict. We cannot remove the oak because the owner of the house doesn't want it, or because them do not allow it.
It's a protected tree
Why?
because of the size of the oak. You could remove it, but you would have to mitigate the cost of it somewhere else.
So is this a cheaper way?
Yes.
This is a cheaper way, okay.
Cheaper go around, make it
Yes.
line.
Wait, before the motion, Mr. Attorney,
We have a
I
motion.
just want to, the waiving the competitive bid provision, you looked at this and that's fine, right?
Yes,
Waiving
ma'am.
the competitive bid provision, very well, okay?
I have a question, if I may,
Okay.
Madam Mayor, before you
Hold
vote
that
on this
motion,
issue.
sir. Hold that motion.
Can,
he's holding it.
can the county, the RER department, assist us with the tree removal, even if it's on private property, because it's damaging the utility?
There's no way they're gonna.
Yeah.
No,
There's no funding there.
And there's nothing that we have from an enforcement standpoint, that we can ask the neighbor to remove the tree so that we can at least try to mitigate this from happening again?
Again, I state that the water line is in an easement.
I understand that, the trees
I would,
and
I would beg to, it would be difficult to locate the actual paperwork for that easement.
I have a question. I have another question. Pena, when you go around, you make a new line parallel of the old line, right?
We go under it.
under it, you bypass them.
We stay in the easement, we go under it, deeper.
You're going under the tree?
Yes.
Not around it?
No, deeper.
Wow.
Oh, well, if we cannot put a parallel line.
Because if we go around it, we get out of the easement. We have to go under it to stay in the easement.
Okay.
That's the cheapest way to go under.
Yes.
Okay.
We have to fix it, we have to fix it.
Okay,
so there's a
there's a
motion.
motion on the table, I need a second.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Before we go on to the next one, Madam Manager, Mr. Penna, I do want to sit with you all sometime after the holidays and start talking about these tree issues and problems and stuff like that, so plan a tree meeting. I know-
In the right place.
I know we're a Tree City USA, and I want to continually comply with that and continue in that way, but I want to talk about, ways to mitigate these tree problems that are coming up. So, first of the year, let's talk about that.
Sure.
Thank you. Okay. Next item.
Item 11H, resolution of the mayor and city commission of the city of West Miami waiving the competitive bid provisions of Florida statutes and city of West Miami code, authorizing the city manager an expenditure for the purpose of replacing and installing a controller for the lift station number 4, providing for a cap of $4,000 payable to Hydro Service Inc. in connection to said installation, providing for an effective date.
As you're aware, we spent over $120,000 retrofitting lift station number 4 with new pumps, new piping, new control panel. This is the actual unit that operates the alarms and the heights of the station in order to maintain the station in operation. It's
Had nothing to do with 120,000 we already spent.
No, that was repairing other items.
Okay.
Is this one is by the rec?
That's the one at the wreck.
Yeah, it's a big pump there.
Yes.
Mr. Attorney, the waiving the competitive bid provisions, you've,
That is correct. It was represented that the issue is that it would be very expensive to go out to number one, a bid, and number two, I understand that the people are going to do that work. It's the same that they're have done the other work. Is that correct, Mr. Penn?
That's correct.
So they have the wherewithal, they have the equipment, they have similar redundant parts and so on and so forth, so it is correct.
that's all I need to know, that
Motion.
you've reviewed it, passes muster with you. I have a motion, I have a second.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Thank you.
Next item.
Item 11I, report by Director of Public Works in reference to condition of the city's backhoe and possible need to replace in lieu of repair.
Really, Mr. Penna?
More money.
The
I'm glad we're sitting down
The
for this.
manager will
the
be
end
my
of this
witness. I've
agenda.
asked for a backhoe in the past 5 years, so.
Okay,
And
go.
we just keep pushing that can down the line.
Okay.
The backhoe,
You got a really big can you've been pushing for a while. All these things are in that same can, aren't they?
we're an old city.
Okay, go.
Well, the equipment is
I know.
getting old.
Go ahead.
The present backhoe is 30 years old. We got it in 1989. It's gone through who knows how many hurricanes. And at present time, it's at the dealer, Growers Ford, because it needs brakes. To do a brake job on a backhoe is $6,000. That's a lot of money to put into a 30-year-old unit with no guarantees of what next will break. A new unit runs in the neighborhood of $100,000. We are looking at financing options at this time. So I guess we will come back at the 18th meeting, and if we have something more shored up at that point.
So we've got our money out of that 30-year-old piece of
Oh.
equipment, and then some.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So,
That being said, Madam Mayor and members of the City Commission, when the next budget cycle comes around, I think we need to start looking at equipment, age. We are keeping up
Agreed.
with police vehicles
agreed.
as best as we can, but we're getting close with our trash truck, with our garbage truck, and it seems to me, or to us, that by the time you get done with paying these big, large equipment off, that we need to start thinking about funding future replacement
Let's
costs.
proactively look at it at the time of the budget, so we can budget
In the
based
mean-
on age. So Mr. Pennant pretty much
Right.
knows how, what the life expectancy is
Exactly.
of this equipment, so.
And how much money we
need-
throw into the
We need to
maintenance
consider
costs.
it at budget time.
We
I
have to
agree.
put those issues into perspective.
I agree.
And in the meantime, just for the record, we have rented a unit, and we're going to keep it until 30 days, a minimum of 30 days. That should give us time to look at our financing options.
Very well. Next item, Madam Clerk?
Next item is item 12, consent agenda items. We need a motion,
I
second
need a
and vote.
motion.
Motion.
You need a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Next item, good of the
13,
order.
Good of the
Do I
order.
have anybody for anything for the good of the order? Okay, as stated by Madam Manager in her report, I want to wish everyone, all our residents, my colleagues, staff, employees, everyone a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, ma'am.
Be safe, eat and drink well.
We try.
And enjoy your holiday, as it should be. On what? My calendar. Meeting is adjourned. I'm fixing it right now.